Hey there, it's Cliff at Norman's Printery, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use our dust cover templates when you're creating your candle dust covers. These will help you design them and put everything where you want to put it, and they'll also help us as you export that final production file and send it to us. It'll give us everything we need on our end. So they're really helpful, and I'm going to show you how to use them. The first thing you're going to need to know is what size candle dust cover you need. And I'm going to link an article at the bottom of this that will explain it in more detail and how to measure your specific candle vessel to find out what size you need. But the basics of it are you're going to take your candle dust cover and measure from the inside wall of the vessel to the opposite inside wall. And the reason you measure from there instead of the outside or right on the edge of the vessel is that the candle vessel, of course, needs to fit inside the vessel. So you want to measure the inside from wall to wall and then subtract, we recommend, 1/4 of an inch from that. And the reason for that is so that if your wick isn't perfectly centered, since it's fitting, your wick is coming through the center hole and the dust cover has to fit inside, that'll give you a little bit of wiggle room if your wick isn't perfectly centered. So for my vessel here, I'm going to use a 3-inch candle dust cover. So you're going to start at our website at shop.normansprintery.com, and along the top menu bar here we have templates, so select candle dust cover templates, and you're going to see a bunch of options. So the first two columns here are for just the standard dust covers, just circles with the wick hole in the middle. These are for tab dust covers. They have a little pull tab on one side. And these, we are continuing to build out our wood wick options as well as racetrack wicks, different styles beyond just the standard wick holes. So for this demonstration, I'm going to use a pull tab. Oh, and by the way, there is no price difference between these. These are just whichever option you want, with or without the pull tab. So I'm going to pick the 3-inch dust cover with the tab, and you click the size you want, and it'll take you to our Dropbox page where these are all hosted, and you're going to click this download arrow right here in the top right, and that'll download the PDF. So now we're going to switch over to our design program. So for this illustration, I'm using InDesign, but all the options, all the things I'm going to show you should be part of any good design program. There's nothing weird or funky. If you can control the size of the document and layers, you should be able to do everything I'm about to show you. So you'll open your design program and create a new file. So make sure you're working in inches. And for your document size, you're going to enter the size that the document is. So the size of the dust cover that you selected. So for me, that's 3 by 3 inches. And now you're going to make your bleed 0.125 inches. So that's 1/8 of an inch. And that'll add 1/4 inch all around to the document. But these are the only two settings you'll have to change, are the size of the dust cover, which is the actual finished size you want it to be, and the same size that you selected when you downloaded the PDF, as well as adding 0.125 inches of bleed on all sides. So now I've got the document, and I'm going to place in my PDF that I just downloaded. Some design programs will give you an option to put in different sizes, to select different size boxes in the PDF. So if I left it on trim here, you could see I would be missing a little bit of the bleed margins, which I'm about to show you. So make sure when you do drop this in, if you have options like these, you select the full media or the full document. And the way you can tell that you've done that correctly is you see these 3 lines completely and nothing's cut off. There's the safety margin on the inside, this red cut line, that's the finished size of the piece, as well as this outer bleed line. So I'm going to use my alignment tools to center this document, center the PDF in my document. And you'll also see, another way to see if you did everything correctly is this red line should be touching the outside of your document. The outer bleed dotted line should extend to the bleed margins you have set up in your document as well. So I'm going to lock this layer so that I don't mess with it while I'm making doing my design. And I'm going to name this layer template. We recommend doing this so that you don't get confused what's on each layer. So we can toggle that on and off and see that this PDF is on its own layer and it's locked so it won't get mixed up when we're doing our design work. And you can make another layer called art. And you can make as many layers, of course, as you need at this point and begin your design process. So the only tips we have here are to not put anything outside, any text or art that you want to be on the dust cover outside of the safety margin. So let's say this is my very original company name, but I want it, let's say I want it really, close to the top, towards the cut line here. We don't recommend putting it here. We recommend keeping it just inside of this safety margin. And the reason for that is as we print these and as we cut them out, slight changes in position can and will happen, very slight, and we try to minimize that as much as possible. But the reason for that is that if you had something you really did not want to be cut off and it was closer than these lines, it is possible that things could shift just enough that it is cut closer than you would like to artwork or text that you really didn't want to be cut off. So that's what this inner safety margin is for. You certainly can put artwork outside of that, so let's just doing some very basic demonstration here. Let's say I had this green or yellow box or yellow circle that I didn't want to be, that I didn't care. I actually wanted it to go off the edge some. That's totally fine. You can put this here, and because that's not art that you care is being cut off, it's actually supposed to be cut off, and but something like a company name or other information, or let's say I didn't want this to be cut off, I would want to keep it on the inside of that safety margin. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to give you one more tip here, and that's actually to swap the art and the template layers. So I just dragged my art layer underneath my template layer, and the reason I did that is that now I can see the template on top of my art. So that makes it a lot easier to see where those lines are without the art interfering. Okay, and then bleed. Let's talk about bleed. So let's say we want a colored background on our dust cover. What we're going to do is fill this entire area with a background color. So let's say we want that yellow again. I'm going to move it to the back. And so now we've got bleed extending beyond this cut line all the way into this bleed area, all the way to the edge of this bleed area. And this is totally fine. This is, don't worry about the square shape with the circle dust cover. This, if you submitted this, that would be totally fine, and this is the right way to create a background color. The reason we need bleed is that for that same reason we want to keep things on the inside of the safety margin, because slight image shifts in printing and in die cutting can and do happen. If I'll show you with the circle, if we only had a background color up to our cut line and the printing shifted, again just a little bit, and I'll exaggerate it here so you can see for demonstration purposes. The image shifted and we die cut it, you'd see this big white strip right here. You'd see white paper where you wanted full color to be, because the image shifts very, very slightly, but enough that you would see white paper if we don't have that background color larger than the dust cover actually is. So that's why you should go ahead and use this bleed area to extend those areas where you want background color or background image to extend beyond the cut edge of the dust cover. Okay, so I'm going to add that background color back in and export this to show how that works. So let's say you've made your beautiful design that's much nicer than mine and you're ready to order. So first thing to do, just make sure that you have your art on one layer, or multiple layers is fine, but that none of your art is on your template layer, because what we're going to do now is turn off the template layer. So I've turned off my template layer and I'm ready to export this PDF. So in my program here, and again, your options may look slightly different, but the main thing that you want to keep in mind, and you should, as long as you were able to create bleed in the document, you should have the option to export with that bleed as well. In InDesign, it's not turned on by default. Bleed is not turned on by default. So you're going to check Use Document Bleed Settings, and that'll include the bleed that we built into this document. And that's really important at this step. We don't want to export a PDF without the bleed information that we included. You don't need crop marks. You can have them on there. It doesn't matter either way. But that's the main thing that you'll want to do when you're exporting the PDF, is to include the bleed that we have set up here. And that's all in terms of using the template itself. So now we're going to go back to shop.normansprintery.com, and we're going to order the item that we just set up. And it's really important, of course, to use to order the same size dust cover that you designed for. If you designed a dust cover in one size and then realize later you actually need to order a different size, we'd recommend to go back and download the correct template and make the adjustments you need, because it's not going to work well to use one size art for a different size dust cover. So again, our example here is a 3-inch dust cover. So you'll select your quantities, your paper, and if you have a PO number or a name for your job, that's an optional field you can put in here. But when you're ready to order, you'll hit Customize Order, and this is the page that you're going to upload your art on. Now we do have two options here. There's a Canva art upload and a general art upload. So because we used our own design program, we're going to use the general art upload. If you are using Canva, we have a separate video for that. That link is in the description of this video below. So, but in this video, because we used our own design program and we did bleed and the size the way we did, we're going to use general art upload. And that's the reason we have two, is because there are some differences in how you prepare your file. But if you followed along this far, general upload, general art is what you're going to use. So you're going to click that tab and you're going to click Replace Image. And this is where you can upload your art. So I'm going to grab the art we just exported, drag it into here. Now at this point, don't touch anything. If you followed along with all the steps that I've done with downloading the correct size, including bleed, exporting with bleed, you don't touch anything on the screen. Just hit Finish Cropping, because what we did was created exactly the size that we need for this size dust cover. So no resizing is needed. And you just click Finish Editing. There's nothing else you need to do at this point, other than accept that you've reviewed and approved your dust cover. And that's that. If you've followed all those steps, then you should have your dust covers with the art exactly where you wanted it. We're going to end up with a file that's exactly what we need, and everyone's happy. So that it should upload the little icon here, so you'll know that your art is ready. And from here you can check out. All right. If you have any questions about designing or ordering dust covers, feel free to reach out to us at our contact page here, or at hello@normansprintery.com. Thanks so much for following along.